Good afternoon or morning or night for anyone. So one of the last obstacles that I have before I can join this tractor back together is the transmission disconnect here. So I am going to work on getting this apart, seeing what parts I need to order so that we can slap this all back together. Manual is a little confusing to me because it mentions like removing the 6 bolts and taking this off, but then putting it on a bench, then using jack screws to push this off. I guess I'll figure it out along the way, but I got these ones loosened up real loose, but they're still engaged. I got the other 3 out, so I'm slowly tapping, just gently working this back to get this flywheel off. Well, nothing surprising here. A little crusty, a little dirty in here. We'll clean that up. This wasn't as heavy as I thought it would be, to be honest. So once I had those 6 bolts off, it just slipped right off. Yeah, this, I could have talked about it while I had it on the tractor. I was told it's starting to get a couple shiny spots in here, so I'm just going to replace that. I'm going to take these castle nuts off here and separate all of this, clean this up, clean everything, and decide if I want to go further into this or not. Well, I finally understand the manual now. So we took off those 6 bolts in order to take this off, and then I took the 4 bolts off on the engine to take the flywheel off. I'm sorry, I think in the other clip I called this flywheel. And then it says to put the flywheel on the bench, almost like bolt this back to it, and then taking the cotter pins out of these castle nuts. I got a little fun, it wasn't too bad. Because then if you start to undo these castle nuts, this whole thing's going to come up and you got springs on it. So I don't have like long threaded bolts, so I just got bolts of different sizes. I got 3 shorter ones, and then I got a set of 3 longer ones. I know I got more thread than this engaged in those. So we're going to take off these castle nuts and then kind of slowly and evenly work these 3 off. And then if I come up to where these bolts are, then I'll take these out and start working the 3 longer bolts out until I'm released. And then in terms of this, I realized I was kind of talking stupid as I was even saying it in the last clip. You know, I got this part. We're going to take this off, replace this main seal here. Still trying to figure out what I'm going to do engine-wise with this tractor. It seemed to run okay when I got it and started it. Everyone, of course, is telling me, and I understand the point, well, if you're going to paint it up and everything, go through it all. But I'd really like to see if I can understand or find a way to determine whether the motor really needs it or not before I, spend all of that money. But anyway, that's neither here nor there right now. So let's get back to this. I got the bolts out on that. I'll pop that off and we'll get all of this released. All right, maybe I got lucky here. I don't know. Took a punch, as it sounded like I'd heard some people do. Kind of punched a groove in there. And then I don't know if just that loosened it up enough, but I was able to then get like a hammer, and I probably won't be able to do this, maybe, sorry, with the camera. I just kept working it back until you can do it. Well, there it went, with a nice oily streak on my pants now. All right, and I got a new one, and a new seal and a new ring to put on here. I'll grab them in a minute. And it takes a special tool to put on. We got a new gasket for this. Let's gather up here what we need to do. All right, here's what we got going on. So first off, we have the gasket. And one thing you will notice is we're gonna have to trim the bottom off. Because of the oil pan. So what I plan to do is put it on that, and then I'll mark it, trim it. We have the housing, new seal, and you will see in the reflection there. We install it dry. Here is said tool. So how this works is this is going to line up and sit on these dowel pins, and then we'll slowly push it on using this tool. So we'll see how that goes. Friend of mine told me to put this on, but keep the bolts loose. That way, when this is pushing it on, the seal can find its center, and then it's not like pressed into the housing wrong. So I don't know. We'll give it a go. All right, so we got our gasket. I got aviation gasket on this. I put red RTV real thick down here. That's a lot easier to clean up later if I drop the oil pan. We've got our tool bolted. So the alignment pins and then bolted to that. Got our seal, and we're going to start drawing this on. And yeah, we draw this on until I believe it is flush. All right, so eventually you feel it bottom out. Got my bolts out, lift that off, and looky there. Thing of beauty. All right, and ready to get the disconnect back on. All right, so I guess we're ready to install this bad boy together. All right, I just realized I'm gonna have to prop this up. Maybe not. All right, so that goes in there. All right, and then this bad boy is gonna go in here. We gotta have our operating bolts. Before I get ahead of myself here. Not sure how I'm gonna put all of these in at the same time. We'll find out. Because, yep, that one just dropped. Yes. There we go. And now springs and caps. And with all of those on, the final piece, gotta think about how this goes. Looks right. And now we're going to put in our bolts and start threading this down until we can get the slotted nuts on these bolts here. All right, so just like taking it apart, I started with long bolts in 3, worked its way down, and I got these bolts in, worked it down some more until I could get the the pins on, or excuse me, the slotted nuts onto these 3. And now we're gonna take these jack bolts out and lift this assembly out, take the clutch disc out, and we gotta mount the flywheel back to the engine. All right, so the flywheel gets mounted on first, and then those bolts there get torqued down. I forget the spec now, honestly. It's been weeks since that last clip. I'll talk about why in a minute. And then I know I had this in there a minute ago during assembly, but that goes in at this point. I'm just gonna have that. Nah, I don't want that to fall. Anyway, we're actually gonna then put the outer part on, and then there's a special tool that I had to get made to center this piece. Here, I'll show you here. So this piece here, once you get the friction plate in, this goes in, and then it's gonna center you based on that hole, and that friction plate's gonna sit on this diameter. And yeah. All right, so the friction disc and that tool doesn't like to stay in there just by itself. I don't want it falling out, so I put the friction disc in. You can kind of weirdly set that in there. Then I put this on, installed some bolts, and then I got the tool in there and that centered. These get torqued down to 35 foot-pounds. We got the tabs pulled up, and now the final step, we're going to adjust these slotted nuts. We've got our other special tool here. We're supposed to adjust it until those fingers just barely touch that plate. And I'll show you here the measurements for this tool and the other tool I was using. So here's looking at section 110, 15-4. You can see these are your measurements for the other tool. They don't give you a length. Length is not, I guess, that important. I went ahead and scaled it, and it was plenty long enough. And here's your other tool for adjusting those fingers. So we'll adjust those slotted nuts and then install new cotter pins. All right, so we got these set. Now a friend of mine, call him a friend, told me to actually tighten them a little bit more. So I did like another quarter turn on them. So that's why there's a little play there. But we'll see. Hopefully that's all right. He told me right. Got the cotter pins in. And yeah, I would say that would conclude this video. So my next video, hopefully, we'll be putting this back together as one. So I got the rear end still sitting over there. I got to put the C1, C2 clutch pack still in, but I'm still waiting on parts for this to put it back together into one. That's why honestly, this is taking so long and haven't been in a rush to get this back on. I got to get the fork for kind of actuating this. It wasn't in the tractor when I got it, and so gotta get that. Got it on order. Then this tractor will go back together. So hopefully you all like this, and let me know what projects you guys are working on. You can email me at danielfarmchannel@gmail.com. I'm really looking forward to getting this back together as one. It's taken up too much space being in two pieces, and unfortunately we're coming up to the busy season, hay season, where I won't have as much time on this, but we'll see. We'll squeeze it in there somehow. So you all have a good day, and we'll catch you in the next video.